It's a new carbon neutral era where 5G is the future now. And in-box accoutrements are the past. It's bright and colorful and more pro than ever with super scientific supercomputer smarts and some magical paladin parts. This is the iPhone 12 Pro. Should you upgrade, and what's the difference between this and the regular iPhone 12? You have questions, I have answers. My review of the iPhone 12 Pro a week later. Hey, if any of these videos have helped you, please consider clicking on that thumbs up, hitting that subscribe, and click that notification bell so you'll be notified when we upload new content. Now, before I go any further, this is gonna be a deep dive, a long video. So we have chapter markers down below in the description so you can skip around or jump right to the parts of the review which answer your immediate questions. With that out of the way, Apple makes beautiful hardware. So let's begin the review there. I have both the Pacific Blue iPhone 12 Pro and the product red iPhone 12. This review is primarily about the 12 Pro, so let's look over that one first. It has a beautiful stainless steel band around it that has a high gloss finish, which does have an affinity for fingerprints. But I use this MagSafe compatible blue case most of the time, so that wasn't an issue for me. And speaking of the trim, that's one of the big changes this year, the design. Instead of the rounded or chamfered edges like this iPhone 11, you get somewhat of a throwback industrial design that I'm sure is going to have its fans and its detractors. I fall squarely into the fan camp. On the iPhone 12, you'll get the same design, but with aluminum, which has a more matte finish. So if you go caseless, you're going to see fewer fingerprints than you would with the 12 Pro. The 12 Pro's Pacific Blue is beautiful and looks great in daylight, and in low light can present a bit gray, or my eyes are just really bad. You can decide when you get yours. And the red of the iPhone 12 is bright and vibrant as well. I like them both quite a bit. That will also be one of the key differences between the 12 and 12 Pro. The 12 comes in a variety of vibrant colors, whereas the options available for the 12 Pro tend to be on the more muted side of things. Right side of the phone is the sleep, wake, Siri button. Bottom is the lightning port, half of the stereo speakers and microphone. Left side of the phone is where you'll find the volume buttons and alert toggle. Front of the phone, you get a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display with a 2532 by 1170 resolution at 460 pixels per inch, which touts Apple's new ceramic shield technology, which is supposed to make it more durable for drops and those types of situations, but not necessarily more scratch-proof. Time will tell. Same thing for the iPhone 12. You don't get the 120 Hz refresh rate this year, but the phone still feels quite smooth and snappy, particularly if you haven't had the opportunity to use one of the newer 90 or 120 Hz phones. I know I didn't talk about the cameras on the front or back of the device. We're gonna get to that, but first, let's get to the elephant in the room. There are no charging bricks in the boxes or earbuds. Add to that, the charging cable you do get in the box is USB-C to Lightning, and that means if you have an older iPhone charger, if you have an older iPhone, older than the 11, you're gonna be looking at purchasing some additional equipment to charge your phone. I'll have another video up this week which addresses that with some inexpensive options for both charging and using your older 3.5mm earbuds by themselves or while charging, like in your car if you're using an aux port. Or if you're a serious music lover, I have some great devices to help you get the most out of the Bluetooth connection and still use your wired in-ear or over-ear headphones. Once that video goes live, we'll update the description of this video with that link. I know it'll be helpful to you. And while we're on the subject of ports and charging, let's start with battery life. This year's iPhones are equipped with a new wireless charging technology that takes their wireless charging one step further, but let's talk about use first. In my first week of use, I found the battery doesn't get me fully through my day without topping off. Day one, I took the 12 Pro off the charger around 3:30 a.m. and 12 hours later, by 3:30 p.m., I was down to 16% battery and getting those low power mode alerts. That was with a little less than 4 hours of screen on time. In subsequent days, I've pushed that closer to 7 hours of screen on time, running the battery down to 5% or less over 12 hours. Between my day job and these reviews, my days are long. So, for you, this may be more than sufficient to get you through an 8 or 10 hour workday. What is also sufficient to get you through a workday is the speed at which this battery charges. Using the Anker PowerPort Atom PD4 charger, which can output up to 100 watts, the iPhone 12 is rated at 20 watts charging or better, I was able to charge the phone to 50% of its capacity in just 30 minutes without it actually getting hot. Using my thermal gun, the phone's temperature increased only 2 degrees while charging via cable. Now, the new technology, the MagSafe charger, is rated for 15 watts, but charged a quarter of the speed, only getting 16% charge in 30 minutes, increasing 7 degrees in temperature during that time. Therein lies another difference between these two phones. The 12 seems to have a smaller battery than the 12 Pro, as it doesn't quite get through the day as well. Not bad, but you're definitely going to get more time out of the Pro. Saving grace again with the 12 is the use of rapid charging, which will get you to over 50% charge, over 50% in that same 30 minutes. Now, I know you all want me to get to the cameras, and they do not disappoint, but I want to spend a few more moments here looking at the MagSafe charger, because I think you're going to see a whole new ecosystem of Apple and third-party products develop around this technology. These magnets are strong, and Apple during their event already showed off some accessories which utilize the magnets, but these are so strong, I think you can expect to see a host of desktop stands and car mounts and all kinds of other mounts, I'm sure. One thing to be aware of is that magnets are strong as you pull them apart, but as you slide them, they tend to be less forgiving. So as accessories are developed which go into your pocket along with your phone, we'll see how Apple and others tackle that potential issue. You know what else is magnetic? The user experience. Wallpapers on the display are rich and vibrant. Moving around the interface is snappy, though having played with other 120 Hz displays, there's definitely a difference. Watching content, you won't be disappointed by the visuals or the sound. The dynamic range of this OLED is indeed very satisfying, and the dual stereo speakers are the loudest I've tested this year so far. Using the Decibel X app, watching Urbance on YouTube, the dB meter showed an average of 80 decibels at max volume and maxed out at 89 decibels. Again, the loudest so far. Going through my Netflix playlist, Our Planet Coastal Seas looks great. No complaints there, especially with the speaker volume.
None of these creatures would be here were it not for the coral.
The narrator for the show cuts through in a manner which makes the dialogue so present you'll never struggle to hear it. And The Witcher presents the audio soundtrack the same way. Dialogue is clear, and for small speakers, they do a solid job of broadcasting the stereo image in the Great Hall. For The Witcher, which can be dark on some displays, it is nice and bright and the colors pop like they should. You aren't going to have any issues enjoying any content on the 12 Pro or the 12. But what about those cameras? Let's hit that front-facing camera first. You may not have noticed, but I have 7 tribbles permanently attached to my face. And that makes it hard for a mediocre camera AI to cut out the edges of my beard for portrait photography, which uses algorithms to produce that beautiful background blur. Night mode shots and those in poor lighting conditions even look great with all the A14 Bionic chip and neural engine processing, the deep fusion and wide color capture. You've got a really capable front 12 megapixel camera. This is truly one of the strongest front-facing or selfie cameras out there. Pictures in various lighting conditions just turn out magnificent. The camera is not only good, but it's consistent, and you'll get Dolby Vision HDR video recording out of this front camera at up to 30 frames per second. Testing out the front camera video stabilization. I'm hiking a trail, so it should be bouncing around all over the place. What this means is that your video should have brilliant colors and deep blacks. I'm definitely looking forward to getting more time with this. So, what about those rear cameras? On the iPhone 12, you'll get two, a wide angle and ultra wide angle lens. With the 12 Pro, you're gonna get three. The same wide and ultra wide as the 12, but with the addition of the telephoto lens for close-ups. The Pro cameras have a 4x optical zoom range. The 12 has optical image stabilization on the wide angle lens, while the 12 Pro has it on both the wide and ultra wide. And eventually, the 12 Pro will have the advantage of supporting Apple's new image format, Apple Pro RAW. The other big difference is LiDAR on the 12 Pro, which should give you better night mode shots and AR and VR experiences. Let's take a look at those night mode shots on the 12 Pro. Now, I will say up front that my extreme grandpa statue test still wasn't the best showing for the 12 Pro, but it did improve over the 11 Pro Max. The Note 20 Ultra fares better, as does the Pixel 4a. But in a more real-world test, my Metro Stop test at night, the iPhone 12 produced one of the best night mode shots of any phone I've tested recently. The contrast, clarity, and colors and detail in the image are stunning compared to almost every other smartphone night mode I've tested, and the images look fantastic on this Super Retina XDR display. Zooming in, you can see those palm fronds in magnificent detail from the hearts of the leaves to the hanging fingers of the fronds against that night sky. The palm trees' trunks are sharp and detailed as well. You can even see the texture in the trunks. I have to say that I'm quite impressed with the low light capability of this phone's cameras. In this shot taken of my car's instrument panel at night while the car was stopped, you can see where I did a sad job of wiping the display and left a nice film across it when you zoom in. But more important, the contrast and detail in the light to dark areas, the shadows and highlights really give you a sense of the depth of the inlaid panel. You can see where deep fusion really works to bring the textures and details to life in these night mode shots. I have yet to get my hands on the Pixel 5, but until then, I think this may be the best overall night mode device. We'll see if it retains that title once I have that in hand. Of course, daylight photos are beautiful and richly detailed. Here's my pooch after our morning hike. Notice the detail in her fur and the blades of grass. And this was on a very overcast morning, which is actually really good for photography. Colors are bright and vibrant without looking oversaturated. And while we were on that hike, I took some video so we could get a look at the image stabilization, and it doesn't disappoint. Oh, this is a heck of a trail. It's called the Butt Blaster. It is steep. And there's a portion of it that's very rocky. One thing I noticed, which I see on most other cameras, is a lack of judder. When cameras compensate for movement, they tend to have this jittery movement to the captured videos, but not the 12 Pro. There's my wife and the dog. The video captured is smooth And the colors on this overcast morning are nice and vibrant and natural. iPhones have always had a very solid video recording, but the range of color and depth of detail with the new HDR recording, then playback on the iPhone's HDR certified display is stunning, even in low light. At 5 a.m., still dark, I recorded these videos of a hallway at work from outside the hallway in our atrium. The darkness, illuminated by the spectral green exit sign, is very Halloween appropriate. And these videos were recorded with both wide angle and ultra wide angle lens. As you can see with the wide angle, which has a wider aperture which allows more light in, the shot is brighter but still detailed. I actually prefer the darker, moodier shot of the ultra wide angle video though. The darker image, which still has contrast and detail, feels like it has more depth to it because of that. And let's wrap this review up by talking about 5G. Both a blessing and a curse here. The speeds I recorded were anywhere from 38 megabits per second all the way up to 634 megabits per second. The curse comes from the fact that 5G on this phone does impact battery life, no doubt about it. But you're going to have a phone which has the most 5G bands on the market, which means it should work across all carriers and in the most situations where 5G is accessible. In my case, testing this phone out on T-Mobile's network, I was able to get up to 634 megabits per second downloads with almost 100 megabits per second upload speeds at 100 yards from one of T-Mobile's 2.5 gigahertz towers. That's the fastest of any phone I've tested so far. The rest of the time, I was anywhere from 31 to 88 megabits per second in my day-to-day travels, which have expanded now that I'm back in the office and not working from home any longer. Now, the 31 megabits per second isn't impressive for 5G speeds, but one of the tidbits people often leave out when discussing 5G, especially when you can see LTE advanced speeds higher than that, is latency or buffering. Even before I had a full grasp of what 5G technologies are and how they operate, the main thing I noticed early on was that my streamed videos loaded faster. Playing content from YouTube or Vimeo or Netflix in areas where my 5G connection was underwhelming was still a better experience than on 4G, where I'd be sitting waiting for the videos to load, buffer, then play. Now, apparently Apple may have had a hint that 5G would have an impact on the battery. So in the settings menu, you can go into the cellular menu, then the cellular data options, then voice and data, and switch the phone to 5G on, 5G auto, or LTE. 5G auto will make it so that the phone uses 4G for tasks which it is well suited for, like streaming music, but as soon as it recognizes you're doing something which requires more horsepower, 5G kicks in like Jim Kelly. So, the question I'm going to be asked the most is this phone worth the upgrade? It really depends on what you're doing with it and what you're coming from. But I can definitely say that this phone is a step up from the 11 Pro for sure, and absolutely a worthy upgrade over anything that came before the 10. I'd say that the 12 Pro is the more impactful upgrade than the 12, though the 12 is most certainly a worthy upgrade over anything which came before the 10 as well. Hey, we don't take it lightly that you spent your time watching with us, and we thank you. If you have any questions, comments about the iPhone 12 Pro or the iPhone 12 that I did not answer in my review, please leave them in the comments section below. I love interacting with you guys and gals. I'll get to those questions and we'll get them answered. As always, I'm Tshaka Armstrong for reviews.org. I will check you out on the next video.